What's going on, everybody? Wednesday. That means only one thing. The OGs are back to talk NBA here on this Wednesday. Just a 6-game slate. So we got a lot of injuries to get to. We have finally arrived. Chop's countdown. Got to be single digits now, Chop. What's the official number here? I mean, we could just call it 0. I mean, we're pretty much done here. This will be our last NBA show here for the three of us. Just want to start out by saying thank you to everybody that comes and checks it out and hangs out the chat. Always a good time. We love doing this show. So it's been a lot of fun. Football can't get here soon enough though, but NBA playoffs also a lot of fun. And don't worry, we'll have you covered all over the place with Rotogrinders content left and right for the playoffs. But this will be our last NBA show. So Chop, are we just calling it 0 here, or we're going to get the official number?
Well, I'll tell you what, the official number for those who are really looking to take it down to the wire and play that last Sunday slate is 3 days and 20 hours from now. 3 days, basically 4 days. But for us, this is like the big one right here. We get this one over with, and we're pretty much done until the playoffs. I'll throw me a few things I got to do on Friday for the NBA, but that's not a biggie. Today was the last really huge day. So yeah, we're basically. This is like the last day of school, man, when you're, when you're like in 7th grade and it's that last day and it's just a free for all. You feel so good that it's over with. The school year's over because this was a heck of a grind this year. I've never seen an NBA season like this. It's getting worse and worse every year, but this one was bad right here.
Yeah, and for 6 games, I think we have more injuries than we have on our normal 10, 11 game slate. So we will get to all that. Let's bring in Noto back with us, buddy. We missed you last week. How we doing?
Yeah, doing good. Gonna miss talking to you guys every week, but hey, the grind is over, so I'm excited for that, and I'm excited that I don't have to write the grind down on Sunday. All 30 teams in action, so Taylor, I don't envy you, my friend.
Yeah, it's we know that's a grind in itself. Every time I read that thing, I give you props, man. I don't have the patience to sit there and write that long, but always a must read, no doubt. And no, you kind of hinted at some potential prizes here today, so I'm gonna let you. Explain what we're talking about. We've been kind of teasing all these shows, and for the guys that are always here, the Hammers, the Andrew Burtons, some of the names that are here week in, week out, you'll know what we're talking about. But Noto, why don't you explain what we're going to do here today for these prizes?
Well, in the spirit of the last day of school, I wasn't listening to Devin when he was explaining the rules before the show. Right. So I know what we're giving away, but I don't know how they're going to win them.
All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to give away some free scoresandodds.com premium. And if you guys haven't checked that out, you're missing out. So first of all, go check that out. Second of all, these are $50 subs where you're going to get tons of premium betting information, picks, analytics, look at odds across a bunch of different sports books, just a wealth of information in there. So when we go to our betting segment, we want to hear from you guys. We're going to get this competition going. It's tight. And what's going to be if the chat can beat any of the three of us, all you have to do is beat one of us. I think I put it out of reach here, but Chop and Noto still within reach for the chat. And we'll look at that when we get to our bet segment towards the end of the show. But if you guys nail your bet and the chat ends up winning, whoever nails that bet is going to win a free $50 monthly sub to scoresandodds.com. So put those bets in there. We're going to tally it. If we see some consensus bets, that's more likely. Again, if you use all caps, lock button, just things like that, it's going to stand out. So get those bets in throughout the show. We will tally them. And if we see some consensus, we'll start to pick them. And again, chat wins. Your name is pulled. You got a chance to win some free Scores and Odds premium. So Chop, did I miss anything there?
It sounds about right. I mean, I was gonna confuse everybody, but let's not do that. Let's just go ahead and give away all 3 subs. But I'll say this much, you guys have a real good chance of catching and beating Noto, and you've got an opportunity maybe to catch up on me. But none of us are catching Beer. We got to give our props to Beer, man. He ran away with this competition. Now, I didn't say it, but there's been, whisperings out there that the 2-week break that he took really was a big advantage to him. That's just the whispers out. There's also some other people saying The guy's picks were too good. Maybe he paid for premium siege material over there at other websites. I'm not saying that other people are saying it, but man, he ran away with this competition in basketball for sure. So props to Beer.
Hey, I'll keep my secrets secret. You know, you don't reveal your secrets here, but yeah, it was a good run. So fun competition, but the chat again, you are still very much alive. So start to think what you want. I already see some wizards coming in, so we'll be keeping an eye on that and tallying things up. But a little bit of business before we get anywhere. And I always forget, guys, if you enjoy the show, you like what we're doing here, you like stopping by every Wednesday, click that thumbs up button. And not just for this show. If you come to any of the Rotogrinder shows, that thumbs up button helps tremendously. So I know you hear it everywhere. Smash, caress, whatever the hell you want to call it. That's what really helps us out. So make sure you do that and subscribe to the channel. Also, Rotogrinders Premium. Devin going to drop a link here. As you know, you can pick specific sports now or go with the combo premium, which gives you almost everything but NASCAR. And Stevie's NASCAR package, something you're going to want to look at as well. So the link is in the chat, $10 off your first month. Also, this Friday, free crunch time. Who doesn't love free? Presented by Big Brain. It's kind of a combo trivia DFS type game. So make sure you guys go and download the app. Hybrid trivia and DFS. So entries go into tournaments, 50-50s, etc. The Friday segment will start right after the slate locks like normal for crunch time, but there'll be some extra prizes and there's a matching bonus up to $50. No code necessary there. So go and check it out. Some of the categories, famous quotes, rock music, classic Atari games, cleaning products. So it's a lot of fun. So free crunch time presented by Big Brain on Friday. Make sure you guys check that out. All right, let's get into NBA, guys. I'm going to go through some of the major injury situations. We'll have SBK with us as always at about 4:30, breaking things down from the projection side. So I think the two biggest scenarios here, obviously Boston, half their team going to be out tonight. Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, Marcus Smart, Robert Williams all out tonight. The other one, New Orleans. We know no Zion, no Ingram, no Alonzo Ball, no Hart, no Steven Adams. So they're going to be short a lot of people. Utah, once again, will be without Mitchell and Conley. Washington, no Bradley Beal tonight. We'll see if Russell Westbrook can keep this streak going there. And then Brooklyn, something we got to keep an eye on. We got Irving questionable. James Harden expected to return here tonight. Nothing official as of yet, but sounds like he's going to be back in that lineup. Houston going to be out. Kevin Porter Jr., Christian Wood is questionable. And then the Lakers, the other one that we'll watch, Anthony Davis, LeBron, questionable. Schroeder out. A lot of guys probable. It looks uglier than it is, but Kuzma, THT, and KCP all probable there for the Lakers. Noto, did I miss any injuries that you are looking at? Did anything break here in the last few minutes? Clean up that injury section for us.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. The one thing I was going to mention is the Lakers can pull even with the Blazers if the Jazz win tonight and they win. So you got to think if LeBron and Davis are, somewhat healthy, they're going to suit up. They do not want to enter the play-in tournament. We heard LeBron talk crap on it last week after, he said it should be an idea last year. So he's kind of going back on his word now that they're heading to it. So that should be a big game. I'm kind of hoping the Lakers don't go in the play-in tournament because I do not want them facing the Jazz in the first round.
You are a Utah fan. That's right. So it would be interesting to see the Lakers end up in that game and end up losing. I mean, that would be a little funny, but I agree. I think if there's any way these guys can play, they got to be out there tonight. They may look at it though and say, we can beat Houston without these guys. So we'll see what they say. Chop, any other things on the injury front? Anything I missed? Anything you're keeping an eye on here injury wise?
I don't necessarily see anything, that we missed. I mean, maybe the Dallas, we'll see how that plays out with a couple of their big guys, but I don't even think it matters at this point. There's been so much value that's been opened up already that from a couple of these teams that we have no problem with salary cap tonight. So it's going to be I think it's a pretty straightforward build. And I think the injuries, we've got enough injuries now. We don't really need to worry about any more. Hopefully we don't get too many more.
We're also listing Bert Stevens as questionable here. I don't see him, so I don't know if he's if he's under the weather or what. So we'll see if he makes an appearance here, but he's questionable as of now. So all right, let's jump in. We'll knock out point guard before we get SPK. Obviously, we got to talk Russell Westbrook, guys. I mean, the guy is just on an absolute tear. I think it's 80 or more DraftKings points in 4 of the last 5 games. So it just continues to get it done. You have no Bradley Beal tonight. Chop, how do you not play Russell Westbrook tonight?
You really have to have a serious case of the fancy pants syndrome not to play Westbrook because I just talked about a straightforward build, as in like there's a lot of value. Salary cap doesn't matter. You'll be able to fit 2-3 studs in there big time. And he's at the top of the charts, man. 8 of the last 9 games with triple doubles. No Bradley Beal. It's a good matchup. Your salary cap doesn't matter. So yeah, you're really overthinking it. There's just, especially at the point guard position where there's just not a lot of other guys that like on DraftKings, you can play Luke at small forward, so you don't want to take up that spot. These other guys I'm not super sold on. Maybe Trae Young. I do like Trae Young against Washington, so maybe that's a good 1 versus 1 there for your game stack in your on the same team, Trae versus Westbrook. But yeah, man, Westbrook, if you're not playing him, you're really hoping for like foul trouble and injury or a blowout or just something crazy. But the game looks competitive. Westbrook looks like his floor is as high as anybody in the NBA right now. So I don't know how you don't play him.
I'm kind of in the same boat, and the sites have priced him up, but I don't know if they priced him up enough. I mean, the guys, the odds, Noto just posted, what is it, minus 400 on a triple double? So, Noto, same question to you. I think we got to spend some time on this. How do you not play Russell Westbrook tonight?
Yeah, I think he was 86% in the 888 tournament on DraftKings the other night, and I expect him to be that or even higher because there's even more value on the board. So, yeah, there's a chance Luka, outperforms him, and maybe that's a good pivot in tournaments. But I don't see how you can get away from Westbrook. Triple doubles in 12 of his last 14. No Bradley Beal, like you guys mentioned. This is a game that they're trying to win. I think if they get one more win, then they secure themselves a spot in the play-in tournament. So, yeah, for me, lock and load. I only build 1 lineup per site, so it's not that difficult of a choice for me.
All right, so let's talk value then. I know Chop brought up some of the other aims, and you can always pivot to Luka. I like the trade call. I think Lillard's interesting tonight. Mid-range, you got guys like Dejounte Murray, but some value here, especially on FanDuel. Noto, we got Peyton Pritchard expected to play some big minutes tonight for Boston. Where do you come out on that? Kyra Lewis going to have to play big minutes for New Orleans. He's point guard eligible on FanDuel. DJ Augustine, Ish Smith. So there's a variety of ways that you can cut into some of that Westbrook salary. Is that the build tonight, Westbrook and then one of these cheap guys? And if so, who do you prefer?
Yeah, I think Peyton Pritchard is going to be the obvious pairing with Westbrook. It looks like he's going to be pretty popular. We have him projected to start right now. Only other guard that's on their active roster, at least that we have projected right now, is Carson Edwards. So I think we're going to see big minutes from Pritchard. Makes a lot of sense to me. Cleveland, they're not trying to win basketball games. Boston needs to win right now. So, yeah, I like him quite a bit. Kyra Lewis, like you mentioned, I think he's somewhat interesting. I just have a hard time getting away from those two at the top. If you want to double spend, maybe that's a way to get a little bit different if you want to use Westbrook because, just using him by himself or fading him just doesn't feel right. So maybe you pair Westbrook with Luka or something like that to get a little different. But I think the chalk build is going to be Westbrook and Pritchard.
All right, Chop, you're getting away from that chalk here. Is it Pritchard for you? Lewis, Augustine? Are you going cheap here? Like some of these mid-range guys? Who else you like in that point guard tonight?
Yeah, I actually, man, I don't think that I want to go chalky with Peyton Pritchard and Russell Westbrook. I like Westbrook. I think I can get different because I like some value somewhere else. So, Kyra Lewis I think he's going to have a really good opportunity here with all those guys out. When they rolled out Lonzo Ball, in addition to the other guys, that kind of opened it up for him. So he's interesting, but like I said, my on FanDuel, the 2 point guards, one Westbrook. I love the second being Trae Young. And if not Trae Young, one guy who I definitely like tonight for a little bit cheaper that nobody will play because we haven't even mentioned him yet. And with everything going on, is Dejounte Murray against that Brooklyn team that doesn't play defense, that will score 125 to 130 points tonight if those 3 guys are healthy. Dejounte Murray is going to have a good game, I think. So, and I think you'll get him at I haven't seen the ownership, less than 3%. So I like pairing Westbrook with somebody different at point guard just to be a little bit different.
Yeah, I like that call. And Derek White is out there. So it's always a good thing for Dejounte Murray. And nice mid-range price. Seems like people are going to either pair 2 high-end guys, go one expensive guy, one cheap guy. So he kind of falls in that middle ground, like you said. So should be pretty low owned. All right, let's bring in SPK. Welcome in our last soiree here for the NBA season, and we're all pretty happy about it. I'm sure you got to be in the same boat here with all these injuries, counting down the days of playoffs. How we doing, buddy?
Man, it's like I've been kind of waiting for this, and now as it's approaching, I'm kind of getting sad. Like I'm gonna miss these random, like I mean, even last night, like I'm gonna miss just having regular season basketball on like that. It is. I'm gonna miss that. Obviously, it being replaced with playoff basketball is a huge plus, but it's a bittersweet feeling for me, I think.
Absolutely. All right, let's dig into some of the injuries. Obviously, the biggest situations we're talking: Boston going to be down a bunch of people, New Orleans going to be down a bunch of people, Harden may be returning. So why don't you start with those three situations: Boston, New Orleans, and Brooklyn?
So yeah, we can start with the Boston side. Both Jason Tatum and Evan Fournier look like phenomenal targets. Both obviously in playing all formats. Evan Fournier at 5.5 on DraftKings is just insanely cheap given the role he'll have tonight. No Smart, no Kemba. I think he's kind of like a slam dunk play on both sides, really. Outside of that, I mean, Tristan Thompson, maybe a tiny bit of GPP viability, but he's been kind of not very good, even with Robert Williams on the shelf. Aaron Nesmith is a guy we have projected to start and play about 28 minutes. I could see that being a little bit higher. So I do think he's also kind of my favorite of the like kind of minimum price Celtics. I think Peyton Pritchard also is in play for DFS purposes, but I think I'm a bigger fan of Nesmith, oddly, even with both those guards out. So that's kind of the Boston side. I don't think there's really anything interesting in terms of like, Grant Williams, Romeo Langford, or any of those guys.
All right, thoughts on New Orleans? We know they're down pretty much their starting lineup. No Zion, Ingram, Lonzo, Hart, Adams all out. So a lot of value opened up on New Orleans. Who are you looking at there?
Mildly afraid that Alexander Walker is still going to be on some sort of minutes restriction. But we have him projected for 33 right now. It seems like given no Lonzo, he should kind of have free reign here, assuming that he's not limited in terms of minutes. I do hope we get some sort of clarity on that if that is the case. But as of right now, 33 minutes over fantasy point per minute. I do really like him. The salary on both sites is obviously, kind of high. Even, that he hadn't played much. He's only played 2 games, neither of which he played more than 25 minutes. So a little bit odd that those salaries have caught up, but they're appropriate for the situation. And I do still think he's in play at where he's priced now. Eric Bledsoe, another guy who I do like more so on FanDuel at shooting guard. And then Jackson Hayes has been phenomenal. I mean, it's kind of odd given like how he had those 2 40 fantasy point games, kind of came a little bit back to earth in that Memphis contest, but he was just like very good on the offensive end, good defensively. So he's a guy I'm kind of looking at. The price on him, like same thing with Alexander Walker, is coming up, making it a little bit more tougher to roster him. But Najee Walker and Keir Lewis, I think Lewis is the one kind of very cheap option on this side that I do have interest in. He was a pretty high pick. No Lonzo. I feel like they'll want to see what they have in him, and they don't really have. I mean, I guess they still have things to play for, but I think they know where they're headed. And yeah, I think I noted Najee Marshall and James Johnson also kind of GPP options, both of whom can like contribute in a lot of different stat categories.
All right, let's talk a couple teams, big time superstars. Sounds like James Harden's supposed to return tonight. So your thoughts there? I know we still have Kyrie Irving questionable. How will they work Harden in? Are we worried about them kind of easing him in? And then the Lakers, we kind of hit on that. Big game for them. Both Davis and LeBron questionable. Any leans on those guys if they play tonight?
So I'll start with Brooklyn. I do have a sneaking suspicion that Kyrie's not going to play. And I also do kind of think that Brooklyn's better off almost with 2 of these stars in and 3 role players who know the roles that they're supposed to play around those guys. But I do think that they obviously want to try to get a look at what's going to happen when they have all 3. Only played 7 games, I believe, this season with all 3 guys. So I think if all 3 play, I think Durant's really the only one I'd be interested in from DFS perspective. I do imagine they're going to limit Harden's minutes. I was kind of debating, like, am I going to be between 25 and 30 on him? He's a guy that plays massive minutes typically when he is healthy. So I think I went a little bit higher than I would have on a normal player in this situation. But yeah, I think if he plays, and Kyrie plays, I think neither of them are really appealing. I still do think I would have some interest in Durant there. And I do think there's also a chance that Blake Griffin doesn't play. I know it's a back-to-back for them. And they did say they want to kind of play him on back-to-backs. They have done that once already this year, at least. So probably more speculative than anything else, but I do think there's a chance that he sits as well. On the Lakers side, I don't really have a lean in terms of Anthony Davis. He did get beat up in that game last night. The Knicks are a pretty physical team, and he played a lot, played over more than 40 minutes. I do think LeBron's going to play. That sounds very much like he's going to come back. At what minute, like, restriction? I'm not totally sure. We have him at 30 minutes right now. I could see that being a little bit lower, but the Lakers are incentivized to win. So 30 is where we're at on him now. That obviously impacts Davis in a negative way. So I think if both these guys do play, given the fact that it's probably leaning towards a blowout and that they're both there, I'm not sure I'd really want to make a point to roster either of them. And obviously that trickles down to guys like Kyle Kuzma, Andre Drummond, Talen Horton-Tucker, who aren't as appealing as well if we get both of them there. So if Davis sits, I think Kuzma will be one guy who I'm going to have exposure to, and I think maybe some THT as well. But yeah, LeBron coming back, and if Davis plays, this is probably kind of like somewhat of a no man's land for me.
All right, Noto, you're up. What do you got here for SBK tonight?
All right, the people love your food takes, SBK. So power rank some of your favorite candy that's not chocolate. We already went over those.
All right, I'll power rank. So number one, sour candy. So man, a lot of you guys might remember these as shockers back in the day. They are chewy sweet tarts. The extreme sour options. Those are number one. I don't even want to. If anybody's knocking these right now, I don't even want to hear it, because these are legit. Go get some if you haven't had them. On second on the sour candy belt, on the sour candy rung, would be sour belts. Get them on Amazon, $12.99 a pound. Don't miss out. The assorted flavor. You got watermelon, you got cherry, you got strawberry, you got blue raspberry. Phenomenal. I would definitely hit that up. On the chocolate side, I'm a big coconut. Like anything milk chocolate, coconut I'll get down with. I like the fancy chocolate, like the Lindor truffles, all that kind of shit. Always a fan of that. So I think that's like 4. But yeah, I mean, those are kind of my main ones. But yeah, sour Skittles is like the one that, since as long as I can remember, always keep me going back to the well.
SBK, I mean, you're pretty good here with the projections. You and I missed your calling as a salesperson. I mean, you got blue raspberry, you got cherry, $12.99 a pound. I mean, I'm ready to go buy some of that candy right now. Chop, what do you got here for SBK?
Listen, any of you guys send me your address, I'll send you one of those 1 pound bags myself.
Done.
Shoot me over that address in Slack. I'll send you one myself.
Boom. Look at that. Free candy here. Now we're ending the season with a bang, Chop.
Does that include the chat? Does that include the chat?
Oh, boy.
That does not include the chat. I don't know any of these people.
Oh, the chat's offended now, man. You didn't hurt their feelings.
I mean, I like you guys, but I just don't know you.
Chop needs to upgrade them M&Ms, so we'll be
No. I'm not a
candy
candy guy. I'm not a candy guy. I don't like that stuff. When Halloween rolls around, I pick out the Reese's Pieces, the Hershey's, all the chocolate stuff. I'll pick that out, and they can have the rest of that Laffy Taffy garbage. I don't mess around with none of that stuff. So I'm not a. Hey, SBK, I gotta say, man, I led you wrong a few weeks ago. My apologies. I told you you should try kumquat, and that would change your thoughts on the fruit. I made a mistake. It's a kiwi, man. It's a kiwi. I was thinking of tree. You got to try a kiwi to get your fruit back on it. But you got to do something, man. That's sweet tarts and stuff, bro. We got to get you. Do you enjoy a good steak, man?
I love a good steak. I might get one from the Outback Steakhouse later on. By the way, kiwi. Are you trying to tell me to eat a fruit with hair on it? Because that's definitely not happening. That is kiwi,
the hair,
right?
Bro. You don't eat the hair, brother. You gotta peel it.
If it's got hair, I'm not eating it.
That's a pretty good rule of thumb.
That's not what I heard, brother.
Oh, by the way, Chop, I did. So the other day, I did pick up a share size bag of almond M&Ms. I know we were talking about M&Ms at one point recently, and those are a lot better than I thought. I kind of grabbed them almost by accident, and I was like, I'm not. Maybe this is a sign. And
almonds
I got them,
good.
and they were phenomenal.
Almonds are sneaky good, man.
Yeah, M&M almonds are very good. I don't feel like I'm seeing that much, but yeah, they're really solid.
Well, they get mixed in with the 900 flavors. They got M&Ms now. It's hard to. There's so many different colors and flavors. I mean, they're everywhere. So we appreciate the food takes. The sales pitch. I will be sending you my address. I'll be expecting my bag of candy here soon. But SBK, any final thoughts here for the people, for Chop, for Noto? It's our soiree, our last show of the year. Any final thoughts here, buddy?
Man, I'm gonna miss talking to you guys on Wednesdays. Always something nice to look forward to. But you know, I mean,
Would you
we
say it's
got,
your
like,
favorite show?
I would say it's my favorite show. Yeah, I mean, I got you three guys on there, you know, so it's, you know, it's solid. But I mean, maybe something, you know, maybe we'll do some sort of something for an NBA, you know, playoffs at some point down the line. But yeah, who knows? But it's been fun talking to you guys. I'll miss it, but yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to having like my nights and my weekends back a little bit. So bittersweet, like I said earlier, bittersweet.
Absolutely. Well said. Playoffs can't get here soon enough. All right, we'll let you get back to work here. I'm sure there's more injuries to come. SBK, we appreciate it, buddy. Good luck tonight, and we'll talk to you soon.
See you, boys.
All right, that's SBK joining us from the Projections War Room, talking injuries, talking candy, talking hairy fruits. So we covered all the bases there. So back to the hoops. Unless you guys got any other food takes you want to get out while we're here, Chop. I mean, coming in tough with the kiwi there.
No, we're good. You guys know my thoughts on all that, so we're good.
All right, let's go to shooting guard tonight. So again, we're spending money on Westbrook. Chop, is this a place that we can save some money here? Some value options. We've talked New Orleans, Bledsoe, the value, the veteran value. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, price kind of jumping up on him. Preference there, and then anyone else at shooting guard position you're locking in tonight.
I mean, shooting guard seems like the logical place to save a few dollars. So if you want to be different, you can spend up. I definitely don't hate DeMar DeRozan in that environment. And I also really think this is going to be a big game for Jordan Clarkson against Portland. So he got that, and they'll be low owned because of the value there. Alexander Walker, he'll be popular and he's fine. Eric Bledsoe should be popular, and for a good reason with all the injuries. You know, he's the veteran there. And you know, people forget, man, as bad as New Orleans has been, as bad as Sacramento Kings have been, they're both fighting for like a play-in spot into the playoffs, believe it or not. So it seems like those teams should be in the lottery, but they're still fighting. So Eric Bledsoe could get some extended run here if it's a competitive game. But for value, the guy I got my eye on is down there in Houston, Kyrie Thomas. I'm a Rockets fan. I don't even know who this guy is, but all I know is that like he's had 3 straight games of really solid performances. They obviously have made it known that the whole backcourt is going to be out. Believe it or not, my guy, Armani Brooks from the University of Houston, right? He has set a record for like the first 20 games of a career with 3-pointers made. I didn't even think Armani Brooks was an NBA player when he was at U of H, and he's setting records. Just goes to show you they're giving these guys extended run. So with that being said, I think that's a phenomenal value play, Kyrie Thomas. So, you know, you can take the Bledsoe Thomas, I think will be chalk, or you can pivot off and go throw 1 or 2 of Clarkson and DeRozan in there and get away from that chalk a little bit.
Yeah, I want to add Sexton to the mix here. No Garland, so he's going to have to carry some of that scoring burden. If you're rostering some Boston guys, it's just a natural run it back. We had a question about Okoro as well. He seems to always have a big game right before we do these shows, so we have to talk about him, Noto, and then kind of disappoints after that. So talk to those Cleveland guys, the New Orleans guys. I think that's a good place to start here. Do you know who Kyrie Thomas is? So there's a question. What else are we doing at the shooting guard position?
I don't think I could pick him out of a lineup. I would say that. Haven't watched too many Rockets games this year, but I know his projection looks good. That's really all that matters to us. Isn't it wild that the NBA has all these just random names pop up at the end of the year and they just come in and crush? It just doesn't seem like that happens in other sports outside of running backs in football. Look like baseball and like guys that just get called up bottom of the order typically don't do much. Wide receivers, tight ends, whatever it may be. But basketball just really deep. So don't mind that call. I'm glad you brought up Colin Sexton with no Garland. That line's down to 6. I think it opened at 9.5. And then with Boston's injuries, they're going to be missing their 3 best on-ball defenders, I would say. So I do like the Sexton call quite a bit. I won't be going to Okoro. I don't think I've played him since the start of the year, and I just haven't really felt that bad about fading him. If he burns me, he burns me. He's just one of those guys. I'd also bring up Jordan Clarkson. I think he has some upside as a low-owned guy. Important game at home against Portland. If Jazz win this, they pretty much will have the #1 seed locked up, like the Bledsoe call. Then on DraftKings, Evan Fournier just feels like a plug and play. 5.5K, going to play as many minutes as he can handle, and yeah, just a really good price point there. On FanDuel is much more expensive.
Yeah, usually it's the other way around. So when you get that cheaper guy in DraftKings, I think he's 7,200 on FanDuel, which I don't even hate that price, but 55 on DraftKings it feels like a cash game lock. He's going to have to score. He's been scoring, been pretty consistent, finally starting to find his way with Boston. So I like that Fournier call as well. So chat, we need your bets. So you get those bets in there. Again, we're handing out 3 free $50 scores and odds premium subs. So even if you're not a sports bettor, this could be your introduction to sports betting and get the knowledge behind you. So all you have to do is put your favorite bets in there, and we're going to pick 3 people. If you guys win against one of these guys in the competition, we're going to send you that free sub. So we need bets, lines, totals, whatever you want to put in there. Get your favorite bets in there. All right, guys, let's go to the small forward position next. Derek, we will stay with you here. High end, we got, guys we've talked about here. Kevin Durant. We'll see what happens with these other guys. You got LeBron. Kind of tough to play him with that questionable tag right now. So it feels more like a mid-range spot. We always have the Utah guys. Bogdanovich, who's put some big games on the board. Ingles, another name there. And then New Orleans, another place that we can look with Najee Marshall for some value. So interest level in those guys and anyone else at small forward that you're rostering here tonight.
Yeah, my interest in Durant obviously depends on the other 2 superstars there. If one of them's out, I'll definitely play some Durant, especially if it's Kyrie, because you got to think Harden's going to be a little bit limited in his first game back. So I like Durant for now. I think he's one of the better spends if Kyrie ends up being out. The guys on Utah, like you mentioned, Bogdanovich, he's been on fire. He's scored at least 20 actual points in 8 straight games. Pretty good matchup for him at home. Got to think he's going to continue to handle the load offensively with Noah Conley and Mitchell. And then, yeah, don't mind the Najee Marshall call. He's been playing very well all season. They're shorthanded, so especially if he gets a start, I'll definitely look to him. Ingles, like you mentioned. Keldon Johnson guy that he doesn't seem like he has a ton of upside. I don't know. For whatever reason, he just seems to like max out at 25 fantasy points. He always rates out well in the projections, and then I'm always underwhelmed. So I don't think I have a ton of him this week or this slate.
Yeah, I'm with you. He always projects well, and he just never seems to get there. So there's other guys I'd rather spend up a little bit more on some of these Utah guys or Najee Marshall for me in that same price range. Chop, small forward for you. We got the Utah guys. We got New Orleans. Anything else here that we didn't cover that you're looking at tonight?
Not really. I think just FanDuel specifically, it's really thin if you don't like Durant, and I don't like Durant if all 3 of them are going to play. So, and then I think my next favorite guy is actually Fournier, even though he's priced up more on FanDuel and he's a great DraftKings play. I think just from the scarcity of this position, Fournier is really good at small forward on FanDuel because there's not a lot after him. Then I would go to save the money on the Najee Marshall. And there's not a lot. The only other guy that I think has upside and is priced low, and there's a chance there, is Rui Hachimura with Beal out. Like he should be the number 2 option theoretically. He should come. He had some monster games earlier this year with one of those guys out, and so maybe he gets back to that tonight in I don't want to call it a must-win game, but yeah, these teams are fighting, both of them, for something here, seeding / getting into the playoffs period. So maybe Hachimura steps up as the number 2 option here. So, yeah, I think on FanDuel, Fournier is a lock. And then from there, I'd save that second spot for the very last spot. And if I got plenty of money, give me Durant. If I'm trying to save, give me Hachimura or Marshall.
All right, chat's coming in with some bets here. I like it. Andrew Burton firing off. Our boy Hammer with the lead pipe lock. That's going to draw my attention. So keep those bets coming, guys. We're going to give you 3 of our favorite bets each here towards the end of the show and finish out this competition. But we want to hear what your favorite bets are tonight. So keep those flowing, keep the questions rolling. We'll try to get to those at the end. Devin's collecting those, so we'll do a little bit of rapid fire at the end of the show here. And of course, MLB show coming up after us, so don't go anywhere once we are done here. All right, power forward, guys. This is the spot that feels like this is going to be where people win and lose tournaments tonight. We got high-end guys. We got a lot of injuries. First of all, Davis questionable, Porzingis questionable for Dallas, Christian Wood questionable for Houston, Jason Tatum in a smash spot without the rest of basically that entire Celtics team. You got the Houston guys chopping Martin and Tate. We got the New Orleans guys in Jackson Hayes, James Johnson. So this to me is the spot that you got to nail it. So out of all these guys, who are some of your favorites here at power forward, Chop?
It feels like the easiest spot on the board for me because the first place I'm going is Jason Tatum, and I'm locking him in. I like his game tonight against Cleveland. I don't think there's a blowout there because Boston's just not good enough with all these guys down to blow anybody out. I don't think. Don't quote me on that, but you never know. I like Tatum. He's the first guy I'm locking in. And then it feels like we got to save the money here and go James Johnson. Only $4,700 on FanDuel. Cheap on both sides, really. With all these guys ruled out in that front court. I mean, Steven Adams ruled out right before the show, and along with Zion and Ingram, he's already getting good run. He's already showing he can get you up over 30 points. Now I think he breaks 35 for a cheap spot. So it's James Johnson, Jason Tatum, but if I'm going a little bit less chalk, maybe John Collins. John Collins stands out in this game environment. The rest of those guys, you guys, the opto slaves can do all they want with Davis Bertans. I'll pass. All right, I'll pass on that one. But give me a little James Johnson, Jason Tatum, maybe some John Collins.
No, same questions for you. I mean, I kind of agree. It's hard to not play Jason Tatum tonight. So we lock in Westbrook, we lock in Tatum. It kind of eats up a lot of salary. So where are you going with that other power forward spot, or do you disagree? Is Tatum not the must play at the position tonight?
Yeah, you got to play Tatum. Important game for the Celtics. And like you guys mentioned, they're without pretty much everyone. You could run court IQ, but the sample size is going to be so small without Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and Kemba Walker in there. So just assume he's a good play. Similar to Westbrook, I think that's going to be a very chalky build, but I do like it. I like James Johnson, like Chop was mentioning. For whatever reason, I always go to Royce O'Neal. It just seems like he has some ceiling games in him because he doesn't need to rely on points for a lot of his scoring. He just fills up the stat sheet, and every once in a while he does make a lot of threes. So I'll take Royce over Bertans as well. The rest of the position is pretty ugly. We did get a question about Fiondu Kabengele, who
wow.
Yeah, I just Googled it while Chop was talking.
Okay. I said
he's
there
only
had to be
projected-
something there.
He's only projected for 10 minutes, so I won't be playing it, but I think I got the pronunciation right.
All right, looks like LeBron officially ruled out for tonight. So keeping hopes alive with guys like Kuzma, THT. We'll see with Anthony Davis, but finally official, LeBron James out tonight against Houston. So you nailed that pronunciation. I saw that in the chat. I'm like, I'm not even attempting to go there. So, well played. Well played. All right, center position. No, we'll stay with you. Kind of ugly here tonight. Maybe you have a different opinion on it, but not a lot of great options at this position. Obviously, back to New Orleans here, depending on the site. We've talked about Jackson Hayes, but you also have Hernan Gomez, been pretty productive in his minutes. Capella, Olynyk, kind of guys in the higher end of this position, and Gobert, I suppose you could put in that category. Mid-range, you got Portal, Tristan Thompson in a revenge game. They're shorthanded. So help me out here, man. Center is one I'm not liking center at all tonight. Who are you looking at?
Yeah, you're right. Especially on FanDuel, really ugly. DraftKings, there's at least a couple of power forwards that you could punt with. But yeah, it's pretty ugly. The one guy that I want to play every single slate, and then it comes down to it, and I see they're 15-point underdogs, and I just can't click his name, is Kelly Olynyk, and he just crushes every single night. So maybe this is the night where I just end up clicking his name, especially now that LeBron's out. Maybe that game stays a little bit closer. It's an awful matchup for sure, but he's been crushing. They don't have anyone else, so he might be the guy I spend up on. Outside of that, I mean, Tristan Thompson should get, a lot of minutes against his former team. I don't know. Revenge narratives really apply to him since he doesn't really handle the ball, but he's at least going against his former team. Maybe he'll get 3 extra rebounds for you with the added motivation. Gobert, interesting. Nurkic, interesting, but pretty ugly position as a whole.
Chop, help us out, man. Center is ugly. Who you got?
Yeah, it's ugly, but he said Olynyk. I think it's incredible. He might be the cream of the crop on a 6-game slate at center position. Kelly Olynyk. But he's been crushing though, man. It's just goes to show you, like Noto said earlier, like most of these guys, even the guys you've never heard of, 10th guy on the bench, they just need some minutes and some usage. They could all put up numbers. It's a numbers game. All the numbers, they just don't mean anything in the NBA. It's different. So Olynyk, I thought earlier today, looking at it, Nurkic could be a under the radar guy. You're going to need a big guy on the court a lot of the time with Gobert out there and stuff. And Nurkic is starting to get his feet under him. So Nurkic is in the mix. On the other side of that, Gobert could be another good play. Yeah, it's just an ugly position. Those are the guys I'm really looking at. If I was going to go off the beaten path, and maybe you do a totally chalk build, and then your last center spot is like the one where you go crazy with it. There's a couple guys you could play Drummond against Houston and hope he gets there, and he should be able to dominate this front court. Even if he only played 20 minutes, he could dominate. But a guy that's interesting to me is from the same team, the Montrezl Harrell. He's not getting any minutes, but I could see this game being a blowout. I know LeBron's out, but it doesn't matter. Houston's not trying to be competitive, and if they had a game last night, LA did. So if they're trying to get these guys rest, and Davis is limited tonight, and LeBron's already out, and you don't want to play Drummond too much, Montrezl Harrell, man, could get up and get a sneaky 25 minutes tonight, and he will destroy this team if he gets 25 minutes.
And nobody's going to play him. You mentioned the minutes. I mean, I've kind of debated him all day. Is he going to get some more run or not? I don't understand why he doesn't get more run. I think he's a better player than what they're giving him the minutes for, but I think ownership will be very, very minimal there. So I don't hate that. If you want to get different somewhere, obviously not a cash game play, but a good tournament dart for sure. All right, let's get to our best bets here. Last best bet segment here of the season. So Noto, let's see. Let's take a look at our standings here. We got Noto at 25 and 26. So needs a 2-1 at least to finish 500 this week. Chop sitting at 27 and 24. I'm at 31 and 19. And the chat also at 26 and 25. So chat very much alive here to win some prizes here. Both guys within striking range. So Noto, you're holding up the rear here, making your return to the show. Need 3-0 here. So best bets for the night. What do you got?
Yeah, it's usually not a great sign when all your bets are, the spread gets worse for you before the game starts. But that's what's happening to me. So I had the Jazz at -2. It's down to -1 now if you want to take that. They're 31-4 at home. I know they're shorthanded, but I like them in this spot. I got Atlanta -6.5. I've seen them at 6 in some places. And then I bet Dallas this morning at 10, but it's at 8 right now. So I'm going to take the 8 because I don't want to finish dead last in this thing. So Dallas -8.
All right. We'll give you the 8 there. We'll let you lock in the 8. Chop 27-24. Chat would have to do some work to catch you. So put a couple wins on the board and you're clear. So give the people some winners. Chop, who you got?
Well, the chat ain't catching me if I don't want them to, because I'll just give them the same picks I took, and then we'll be stalemated. But I'm not going to do that because I'm a nice guy. I want the San Antonio game with Brooklyn over 233.5. I'm thinking we're going to get the big 3, and it's going to be a score fest. So over 233.5. I like that Mavs game, the Mavs -8. I want that one. And then the Lakers. I thought LeBron was in. I got the Lakers at -13. I'll still take it, even though LeBron's been rolled out since then, but that's okay. I still think it's a blowout. Lakers -13.
All right, chat, last chance to have your voice heard. Your favorite bets, shot at some free scores and odds premium. I'm going to give my picks, and then we're going to the scorecard for the chat. So my favorite bets of the night, I'm going with Brooklyn here tonight. A little obviously fuzzy knowing who's going to play or not, but I think they can handle this game. I do think we're going to get a Harden back. So Harden, Durant, enough for me to take the -5.5 against the Spurs. No, I'm sorry, but I'm going the other way in this one. I like Portland And I got him +2. So I'm locking that in. I know it's down to 1 now, but just playing very well here. It's a huge game for them. I know Utah, same thing, trying to lock down that #1 spot, but Portland, there is a big jumble there in the middle, trying to avoid that play-in game. So I really think we get high-end Dame Lillard tonight. So I'll go Portland +2. And I like Washington. Yeah, without Bradley Beal, I know a little concerning, but Russ can put this team on his back. I think they stay competitive in this game. In fact, wouldn't be shocked to see them win this game. So that one's kind of drifted down as we've gone on here, but I locked it in at Washington +7. So my favorite bets right there. Nets, Blazers, and Washington. Shop. Big job here. Consensus bets from the chat. We got to log the name as well because there's a chance to win some prizes here. So what do we got here for the chat tonight?
Yeah, so this one worked out pretty good because the chat's picks are really going up against. They want the opposite almost of a lot of these notorious picks. I'm not saying they're doing it on purpose, but they didn't even know what the picks were actually when they did them. But luckily, they're going to get some. So I've seen actually several guys throw Washington out there. And I saw it at -6 here before the show. So I'm going to give them a +6. Washington +6 against Atlanta. They're on the Portland train too. They're Portland +2, so we'll give them Portland. Them you blocking them doesn't really matter. Nobody's catching you anyway here, so we'll give them Portland. That goes against the Utah pick, so Portland +2, and then you gotta give the guy when they say lead pipe lock.
Yeah, that's in
Mortal lock, mortal. I see mortal and lead pipe on the same pick. 238.5 over on the Washington Atlanta game. 238.5 over Washington Atlanta. We'll give it to them.
All right, there we go. So if you guys end up taking, I know this is the last show, so we won't be back next week with results, but we will get in touch. If we picked your bet, you end up beating one of us, you will hear from either myself or Devin for that free Scores and Odds premium. So even if you don't win, guys, make sure you go check that out. A ton of great information there. So, all right, we got about 2 minutes. So I don't even know that we can get to questions here. There's so many. Yeah, we just don't have time to get to. Let's try. Let's do a couple here. Andrew, Noto, we'll go to you. Jackson Hayes or Hernan Gomez?
I always like the starter. Give me Hernan Gomez.
All right, Chop. What about McCollum against Utah? Don't have who asked it, but what do you think about McCollum?
I don't mind it. I think it's a good GPP play. I don't mind it at all.
All right, Morningwood Derek wants to know FanDuel GPP, is Tatum the absolute best power forward tonight?
Yes.
Chop Curiosity wants to know Fournier or Utah's Bogdanovich tonight?
Fournier.
Derek Andrew wants to know Favors smash rate is higher than Gobert. Thoughts on that? You're our Utah guy.
I mean, the smash rate, I mean, if he gets like 22 or something, it's considered a smash, but he only plays 17 minutes a game at the most. So I just don't think we need him because there's a lot better value plays.
Chop Morningwood asks DraftKings GPP favorite value center tonight.
Value center tonight, Jackson Hayes, 4,900.
All right, last one here, guys. I wish I could get to all of them. Noto, Andy wants to know, do you think DeAndre Jordan gets some run if Blake Griffin is out?
I don't know. I mean, even when he's been starting, he hasn't been playing a ton, but center's pretty bad, so I wouldn't cross him off.
All right, guys. Again, I wish I could have got to all the questions, but we appreciate the chat for talking Rapid NBA with us, not only tonight, but all season long. So I want to thank you guys. I want to say thank you to you two guys. Love doing shows with you. We've been doing them a long time. Looking forward to football season. So if you're new to our podcast, we talk weekly NFL each and every week. So make sure you tune in for that. Want to say thank you to Devin for all his hard work behind the scenes. So make sure you like the stream. Make sure you guys check out scoresandodds.com. Make sure you stay tuned for the baseball show, the free crunch time on Friday. Guys, any final thoughts from you to wrap up the season here? I know we got to get out of here, so got to keep it quick. Chop, final thoughts here.
Yeah, man, it's been a fun season. I like doing these shows on Wednesday. I know we'll be back next year, but the OGs are going to take a little summer break.
Yes, sir.
But before you know it, it'll be September 9th, and we'll be back with some NFL podcasts.
Can't wait, baby. No, final thoughts here for the people.
Yeah, I like doing these shows, especially with you guys. Excited for NFL to start. Maybe we'll get some video on the podcast this year. But yeah, thanks to the chat for joining, and we'll see you next fall.
Absolutely, guys. Good luck tonight. Again, thank you to Devin. Stay tuned for the baseball show coming up after us. For Chop, for Noto, I am Beer saying salut. The DFS OGs are out. Good luck, guys. We're here back in the Fantasy Bar, big Wednesday night in MLB, and I've got 6 of my favorite plays, including a couple of teammates to help you build a stack. My favorite value play on the board, a starting pitcher in a dream matchup, and my favorite play of the night. Who is it? Belly up to the Fantasy Bar and find out. Welcome in, guys. Wednesday edition Beers Daily Fantasy 6-pack. Good to be back here in the Fantasy Bar. Seems like forever since we've done a video, and we are talking MLB tonight with 5 of my favorite hitters and my favorite pitcher. Thank you, as always, for stopping by and checking out the video. Now, let's handle a little bit of business, as we always do before we start. First thing, guys, that thumbs up button. I'm challenging you. Take a second, click that button. Really helps us out. I appreciate that. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Get notified when these videos are coming out. We're going to mix it up and do different days of the week. Would love to be here in the Fantasy Bar 7 days a week, but we'll be here a couple times each week. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, to my sports betting friends, if you haven't taken advantage yet, head over to scoresandodds.com/beer. The link is in the description of the video. Tons and tons of sports betting information, analytics, premium picks across a ton of different sports. The guys handing out winners left and right. Make sure you get over there and take advantage. Add that to your sports betting toolbox today. Scoresandodds.com/beer. All right, let's get into the plays here for Wednesday night. Looks like a fun slate of games. We're going to start with our leadoff hitter at shortstop. We're rolling with Tim Anderson of the White Sox. Anderson been awesome to start the year so far. 21 of the first 24 games, this guy has logged hits. The last 9 games has put 4 multi-hit games on the board. So just been very, very consistent. So you pay a big price for him, but you generally get decent returns out of him as well. And against lefties, we know this guy. Money in the bank, big time power for Tim Anderson with an ISO approaching 400, a WOBA over 500. So some of the biggest numbers that you'll see against left-handed pitching. Also hits the fastball very well, 377 WOBA against that number. Now, J-Hap been pretty decent against righties. The numbers don't jump off the page, but the numbers that do, the ones we're looking at the most, the fly ball rate at 44%, that hard contact rate at 33%. We know what that mix can bring. We talk about it all the time. Those are the home run numbers that we're looking for. 197 ISO also shows that he's vulnerable to some power, and the strikeout rate at just 18% against right-handed hitters. So a lot of reasons we like Anderson here. The numbers match up. Hap gives up those fly balls, the hard contact. And for our BVPers out there, 9 for 16 with 2 home runs for Tim Anderson in his career. So a lot of check marks in this box. Tim Anderson worth the money here tonight against J-Hap. All right, let's go to the outfield. I promised you my favorite value play tonight. For me, it's Andrew Benintendi of the Royals. So really love the spot here for Benintendi tonight. Under 4K on DraftKings. Anytime we can get a hitter like him at that price, we take advantage. FanDuel down to 2,700 here. So to me, this is a great value play against Casey Mize. We'll get to him in a minute. Now, Benintendi, not been a guy who's going to put huge numbers on the board against right-handed pitching, but the hard contact really stood out to me at 40%. But what really stood out to me is the pitching matchup here. Again, we mentioned Mize loves to throw fastballs, sinkers. Benintendi, a very solid fastball hitter and very good against the sinker as well. A 428 WOBA against that number. So we dug a little bit deeper here for Benintendi and matching up with the pitch types of Casey Mize. And again, you're asking, where do you find this information? Rotogrinders Premium in our Plate IQ tool. But Mize been a disaster against lefties. Again, we've talked about it over and over on this show. Love the future potential for Casey Mize, but he has to figure out how to get lefties out. 409 WOBA allowed, a lot of power as well at 295 in the ISO department, and the hard contact rate up there, as you'd expect, at 45%. So again, Benintendi's numbers don't initially jump off the page, but we dig a little deeper. He matches up very well with the pitch types of Mize. Mize struggles with lefties, and these prices simply too cheap on Andrew Benintendi. All right, we're not done with the Royals. Let's get you another guy, but we're going to go to starting pitcher here. We're going to roll with Danny Duffy tonight against the Tigers. So a common theme here. We see the Tigers. We want to know who's pitching. Is there upside? Is there strikeouts? Pretty much a lock and load for me with Danny Duffy. Now, FanDuel, price up to 10-2. I don't hate paying that price. We're going to find you some value in the bats. DraftKings down to 8,900. An easy no-brainer play on Danny Duffy. They're very, very consistent so far to open up the season, averaging 7 strikeouts per start over the last 5. And against this Detroit team, little BVP in the other direction, over a 29% strikeout rate against this current Tigers lineup. So we know strikeouts, the name of the game with Danny Duffy. Detroit striking out at over a 35% clip against lefties this season, and the number's just pathetic against lefties. It's not just the strikeouts. The team WOBA against lefties, 222. ISO all the way down to 065. Yes, way down there, well below the Mendoza line, and the WRC plus at just 39. So this lineup is just absolutely pathetic. They're rolling out a AAA lineup. 8 strikeouts in his last start, a season high against this Detroit team. Don't overthink it here. Danny Duffy in a great spot against this pathetic Detroit Tigers lineup. All right, let's get back to the bats here. Let's get back to the infield. Another great buy low here at first base or third base, Alec Bohm of the Phillies. Here's a guy you've seen in here a few times. He's been good to us, but struggling here a little bit late. So we want to get him going again. And as they say in some of the financial markets, let's buy the dip here on Alex Bohm, all the way down to 3,100 on DraftKings. Love when you can get a guy with his upside at that kind of price point. FanDuel under 3K. So some more value for us over on FanDuel. Help us get Danny Duffy in that lineup. But good numbers here against lefties. 368 WOBA over the last couple seasons. 258 is the ISO here. And John Lester, another guy, kind of like Jay Happ, who's not going to get bombed by righties a ton, but that 40% hard contact rate really stands out to me. So Philly, a team I don't think a lot of people are going to be going after, but Bohm, certainly a bat I want, especially at these cheap prices on both sides. All right, let's stay with Philly. I like this matchup here. We're going to go to the outfield on this one. Andrew McCutchen. So McCutchen starting to get it going. Very, very slow start to the season for him, but really starting to heat up here lately. 3 multi-hit games over the last 7. So I'm really expecting that bat to kind of continue to wake up here. And another guy that hits lefties well. 289 ISO, WOBA over 400 against righties, and a 50% hard contact rate over the last couple seasons. So really putting the bat on the ball here. We talked about how much hard contact John Lester gives up, so it matches up well here with McCutchen as well. And the stack really in play here. Love me some Rhys Hoskins as well. Didn't want to flood the 6-pack with Philadelphia Phillies. The point is, I don't think a lot of people are going to go to this stack. The price is very fair here. I know Lester, again, not a guy that's going to get bombed all the time, but I have a good feeling here. The beer gut feeling the Phillies here. And even if you don't stack them up, Bohm, McCutchen, and again, Hoskins, a little bonus play for you, all in play for me tonight against Lester. All right, it's time to take a look at my favorite play here for Wednesday night. But before we do that, we're going to continue with our Beast of the Night contest. This is a thank you to you guys. Absolutely free to play with some free prizes as well. How do you play? Get in the comment section right below the video. Make sure you've hit that thumbs up button. And all you have to do is guess fantasy points on FanDuel for any of my 5 hitters here I've given you in the 6-pack. Don't need the name, just the fantasy points. You want to include a name, you want to include your beast of the night, guys, that comment section is for you. But for the game, just the fantasy points on FanDuel. The closest guess will win themselves either a free 3-day pass to Rotogrinders Premium, a chance to check everything out, including the Plate IQ tool we reference in this video every time, or if you're already a subscriber to our premium suite of tools, we will send you a free Rotogrinders t-shirt. All right, let's wrap this baby up. My favorite play for Wednesday night, you know him as the Beast of the Night. All right, Beast time, and my favorite matchup by far here tonight. We're rolling with Max Muncy of the Dodgers, tonight's Beast of the Night. Now, great spot here tonight for Max Muncy, and you look at that FanDuel price all the way down to 3,200. He's up to 5,500 on DraftKings, so a huge discrepancy there. I don't hate paying that 5,500 on DraftKings. In fact, I easily will pay that number. So the 3,200 on FanDuel, an absolute lock and load no-brainer for me. 21 or more FanDuel points now in 3 of the last 5 games. Some big games for him here over the last week or so. A great fastball hitter here. Muncy, 400 ISO against that pitch, 443 in the WOBA department, and that's Dunn's primary pitch to lefties. He uses that 54% of the time. So that means bad news here against Max Muncy, and Dunn, like Casey Mize, has not figured.
What is going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here. It's Dean 78904. If you want to get all technical on me, it is 5:17 on the East Coast, 2:17 West Coast, 4:17 Tennessee time. So, of course, that means it's time for the flagship show here at Rotogrinders. It is called Grinderslive. Joining me today is the CEO of the Bats. He's got the best hair in the business. It's Derek Carty. What's going on, Carty?
Not much. How's it going? It's I don't know. It's a nice slate today. It's a big slate. There's a lot going on with it.
Yeah, we had our pre-show conversation consists. We were bagging on the Angels lineup and just taking Mike Trout out of that lineup. Like, it's just incredibly. It looks so distinctly worse. They did at least figure out that they should have a good hitter leading off. Ohtani's leading off, so good for them. We talked about the Marlins finally decided on who's throwing baseballs tonight, just a few hours before their game starts. So good for them. Weather-wise, you guys know Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth's going to be on Crunch Time later today. If anything pops up, of course, he's going to be all over, but there's really nothing to be concerned with as far as precipitation. At least that's what I saw as of like an hour ago. But it is hot. No, it's cold today in Atlanta, which is kind of sort of somewhat strange. I should also mention, if you guys are premium members, you got Kevin Roth there for weather. You got Dave Potts, Cheese is Good from the Musing. So we talking some baseball, taking guys all up to lock, and of course, basketball. Carty, basketball is still a thing. I'm not sure if you're aware. Basketball is still going down.
It just blows my mind. We're into May or June or wherever we are right now, and basketball is still happening, and like just be done with it already. Like, it's baseball season.
Your degree of knowledge, like, are you aware of like Russell Westbrook? Just want to gauge. Are you aware of his existence? Have you seen GIFs? Have you seen him pointing or anything?
I've seen GIFs, and I'm aware of Russell Westbrook.
Oh, I see you as a GIF guy. You're on Team GIF, huh? Like, GIF.
I'm on team pronounce it correctly.
Well, isn't the old adage, the story? They say that the wise tale is the guy who created it allegedly likes the term GIF, and
Yeah, that's what it's always been called until like Twitter millennials came on and were like, let's call it GIF.
Oh, love it. Yeah, if you guys are premium members, you know how that goes down on Crunch Time. You got basketball for Andy Means as well. Hey, how do you become a premium member? You get yourself $10 off the first month. You can do that with just a la carte, just one sport, $10 off, or all the sports with the exception of NASCAR, $10 off as well. Devin's going to go ahead and drop the link for the people there. Let's talk about it. As far as an overview, as far as this slate, we did lose Mike Trout. We talked about that, kind of mentioned that, but it feels, at least to me, not a great hitting slate, and it's the pitchers, and DK specifically makes it way too easy to get really good pitchers, and you just sort of figure the bats out, and until they change that, I'm not going to change, and that's where I'm, and it's been successful for me as far as making lineup so far this season. Your overview as far as this slate.
Yeah, it's like you said, there's a lot of pitching on this slate. There's probably like 6 high-end guys you can consider, and hitting's just not awesome. There's kind of like 3 offenses at the top, and then below them, the bat has like the next 10 projected within like half a run of each other. So they're all just like the same. So definitely lots of ways to be different today and not be bad. So, it's an interesting slate.
How many offenses does the bat have over 5 runs projected today? Do you happen to have that in front of you?
Yep, only 2, but there's a third that's kind of close. It's the Dodgers, then it's the Red Sox, and then the Phillies are just under 5.
Yeah, I think the Phillies are going to be kind of sort of somewhat chalky because of price reasons. The Dodgers, DK did hike them up, so it's we do live in a world with salary cap where you can't have a Woodruff and Cole and the Dodgers stack. That does seem to be something you probably can't make work, at least not the premium Dodgers. That lineup, of course, not out just yet. That's a West Coast game, but yeah, the Dodgers facing Justin Dunn. We did kind of talk about how it's a pitching slate, despite there's a lot of good options. There's one elite option, right? It's Garrett Cole's world, right?
Yeah, Garrett Cole is far and away the best pitcher today. He's the most talented guy. He's getting a nice little park upgrade. He's facing a Tampa Bay Rays offense that is good, but it's like kind of a watered down version of the offense tonight. And it's very strikeout heavy. It's the most strikeout heavy offense on the slate. And he's got Bill Miller calling pitches. So that's going to work in his favor. So Garrett Cole is clearly the top guy today. He's your DK SP1 for sure.
Yeah, it's a little tricky over on FanDuel where there's actually a difference in asking price.
Yeah, there's a conversation there.
Yeah, do you have a stand on that? Because I can make arguments for Woodruff, and I think maybe the best dollar for dollar play potentially over there is Zach Gallen, revenge game. And I don't know if you factored in the revenge as far as the bat. I don't know how vengeful Zach Gallen happens to be. It does help that.
Is Zach Gallen really upset that he's not on the Marlins anymore? I just don't think that's a thing.
No, he's probably fine. I assume. I haven't talked to him, but I assume he's okay. The Marlins have improved. We can pick on them. They're easy target. They have a really good pitching staff. I'll give them that. They've done a good job as far as their starters. And you know what? The dude they traded him for, Jazz, looks legit. Actually, I thought that was a terrible trade, but he looks all right. He's coming back. He got a hit last night in the minors. He's not cracked the lineup tonight, but probably tomorrow. Maybe we'll see Jazz. Hopefully, he's a lot of fun. Magnarius Sierra did crack the lineup. No Lewis Brinson. I was hoping for Brinson to pick on him. Isan Diaz, another prospect. He's just not there just yet. That lineup for the Marlins is not good, except Rojas leading off is kind of annoying because, he's one of those pests. He's like the Sogard type that just will give you those 9 pitch at bats. But Marlins not very good. Do you have a stand as far as FanDuel, your favorite place to start as far as pitcher? I think it's one of those 3. Obviously, lineup construction, salary, and all that stuff factored in. Cole's the best play, but Gallen opens up the bats a little bit more, and you got Woodruff in the middle with his K upside.
Yeah, I think on FanDuel you can rule Woodruff out. I think it's either Cole or Gallen. I think you probably just go Cole, but I'm not going to tell you you're wrong to go with Gallen because it is a significant discount. It's $4K, and it is a good matchup for Gallen. The Marlins are not very good, and they are fairly strikeout heavy. They're getting a park upgrade. The roof is open, good hitting weather. So it's not like perfect, but for a 4K difference, you can definitely make the case for Gallen.
Yeah, and back to Cole this season, 40.2% as far as the Ks, 1.8% as far as walks. That's insanity. Only Burns, I think, is better as far as K to walk, I would imagine, because he's got 0 walks still. So it's hard to beat that. And like you said, I even put this in my article today in the expert survey. One of the things you get here, if you have RG Premium, I did mention that the cherry on top, Bill Miller, who you coined as the Mike Trout of calling strikes behind home plate. He's not playing baseball tonight, Mike Trout, but his doppelganger with a mask on is going to be calling, balls and strike, mostly strikes, I imagine. And like you said, this Tampa lineup, plenty of Ks. Zunino, you love seeing Zunino in there. He feels like a 2-outcome guy, a homer or strikeout, but much more likely the homer. I'm sorry, the strikeout. Adames strikes out plenty. Phillips strikes out plenty. Arozarena. But what do we have on Arozarena? We got a big enough sample at this point. Obviously people thought he was going to come back down to earth. Do we have a read on him a month and change in this year?
Yeah, he has definitely come down. The bat, liked him a good amount coming into the year. It's definitely soured on him a little. The strikeouts are just insane. The power hasn't quite been the same as it was last year. The BABIP is insanely high. He's a solid enough hitter, but I don't think he's like the stud that people thought he might have been last year, which, surprise, it was a small sample size. Like that happens sometimes.
Let's talk about Woodruff on DK, where I think it's more feasible. Of course, you can play him on FanDuel too, and he can definitely rack up 10, 11, 12 Ks. That's certainly in the bag. We're probably going to get 6 innings from him, and it's, again, not that hard to go double barrel on DK the way the prices are. That's almost definitely, I mean, yeah, that's the way my cash games are going to look. That's why some of my tournaments are going to look as well. We'll talk about some cheapies in a second to really open up the bats. But Woodruff and DK, what say you?
I think he's the guy in cash games you're pairing with Cole. You know, like you said, it's not that hard to get up to them. You know, we mentioned there's only 2 offenses over 5 runs today. It's not like there's this great offense you have to get exposure to or anything like that. So go Cole and Woodruff and cash and don't overthink it. Gallon is fine, but you're not getting the same kind of discount on DraftKings as you are on FanDuel. Woodruff is the better pitcher overall. He's in the better matchup. And so, he's only 800 more. It's not that much.
Other pivots, he's not really cheap, but he's having a spectacular season and looks pretty legit. And the matchup is, doesn't get much better than the Duffman. Danny Duffy has been good. And, lefties versus Detroit is a thing. If you pull up the plate IQ here at RG, this is this season only as far as the Ks. The mouthwash Jonathan Scope striking out 34%. Now, again, 23 at bats, whatever. But that's a huge number as far as striking out. Miggy Cabrera is small. I love Cabrera, but it's over, man. He's still getting paid, so good for him. And he's not going to walk away, I imagine, unless they just buy him out. And he's still having a blast. Nobody's had more fun out there than Cabrera. If you watch him play, he's just joking around the whole time. Good for him. Nomar Mazara is back. That feels like a couple Ks on layaway. There's just so many strikeouts in this lineup. Talking about Duffy, I think is a really interesting pivot.
Yeah, Duffy's a guy the bat, has kind of always liked. And this year, he's really dominating. People are starting to like him more. And his stuff is better this year. His fastball's up 1.5 miles. His spin rate is up 100 something RPM. He's good. The matchup is really good. He projects for 19 or 20 points. You're not getting him as a 6 or 7K pitcher the way we were last year. But in this matchup for 8.9K and 17% projected ownership, it looks like right now, that's the 6th or 7th highest owned pitcher on the slate. I'm into that for sure.
If that's the percentage, if that percentage holds, I really like that. I'm for sure going to have some tournament lineups with it. Again, I'm just give me the good pitchers. Bats are not nearly as predictive as arms. Arms get a bigger sample on a given night, obviously. I just feel like that's what wins this slate. Goofy things can happen in baseball. And for sure, Cole can give up 9 or 10 runs. Of course, these things happen. But I just feel I'm prioritizing. I normally prioritize the arms over the bats. Depends on the slate, obviously. If there's a Coors game with a 14 total, then you change your mind. But that's just kind of the direction I'm at. Other potential pivots, Zach Wheeler, better real-life pitcher than actual DFS pitcher, good innings eater, good leash. But, it's a full price. I don't see him with the K upside as a Duffy or a Cole or a Woodruff. So, probably not picking on him much, but also not rostering him. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I actually really like Wheeler tonight.
Okay.
Not in a raw sense. It's not like he's on the same level as Cole or Woodruff, but he projects for 18 points. And after Cole and Woodruff, you have Gallon, you have Duffy, you have Julio Urias. They're all in that 18 to 20 point range. So Wheeler's a little below them, but not by a lot. And he's projected for single digit ownership, 8% ownership right now is what we have, probably because he's too expensive, because he doesn't come with that built in, 11 or 12 K per 9, baseline. But like you mentioned, he has a long leash. He has the longest leash of any pitcher on the slate. And even though the matchup isn't awesome, it's okay enough where I think for the ownership and just kind of who he is, I just think he's too low owned. So I really don't have any problem playing some Wheeler.
Yeah, they let him go and drop the CGSO last game against Milwaukee, 118 pitches. And if you're watching that game, he even got in a little trouble in the 9th. They still let him close it out. I want to say there was 1 or 2 guys on, and CEO of Team Girth, Vogelbach, made the last out. I remember watching that game. But 118 pitches there, 97 before that, 114, 105, 108. That's hard to get the way baseball is these days and the way some of these teams operate. But again, so the K percentage isn't spectacular, but if you have an okay K percentage over 8 innings, that's just as good as a better one over 5.
That's exactly it. It's one of the most underappreciated parts of projecting baseball players is volume. In NBA, all you hear people talk about is minutes. And in NFL, it's oh, well, what's his how many touches did that running back get? What's the wide receiver's target share? But you never hear people talk about volume in baseball, and it's a thing. It matters. And Wheeler, what he lacks in that high end, strikeout stuff, he makes up for in volume.
I tried to make cost per pitch a thing a couple of years ago. Nobody bought it, but cost per pitch. Because
I
it's
like
a, yeah, Cardi, you can have that. You know what? And I just want a little shout out every once in a while. But if you want cost per pitch, that's all yours. You mentioned Urias there for LA, and like, you know, this kid, Uber prospect, came up at like 19. The Dodgers always babied him. They do on occasion let him go into the 90s, but even then, like, that's pushing it. And that's the thing. It's a good matchup. It's a good pitcher. Seattle, of course, losing their DH as well. But, you know, how deep is he going to go? He did go 7 a couple of times, but he was also super efficient, which you really can't assume that's going to happen again. He's in the mix. He's in the conversation. If I'm MMAing, sure, but I'm not prioritizing him. What say you?
Is this Urias? I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if he's going to be, you know, higher owned than Duffy, he's going to be, you know, double or triple the ownership of Wheeler. And like you said, he doesn't have that leash. You know, if he gets into any trouble, Dave Roberts is going to pull him. The upside isn't necessarily the same as it is for a guy like Duffy or a guy like Wheeler. And he's going to be higher owned than those two. I have less interest in Urias.
Is there anything else on the board that's worth getting to? I think there's a couple. Hyun-Jin Ryu, just by the talent. I mean, I don't want to pick on Atlanta, obviously, but that price just seems too cheap for what he does historically. And we talked about how it's actually cold in Atlanta, which we don't see very often. And There is a pitcher to pick on as well. And, you know, jumping from the AL to the NL is a bump. And if you really need to scrape the barrel, I think, again, I don't know if I'm going to do this, but if I make a tournament lineup, I'm okay with Fried, a same sort of concept. And he's also been super unlucky. If you look at his BABIP, for this season, I was looking at it before the show, like 460 or something ridiculous like that. It's obviously not a big sample. He hasn't pitched a ton, but 28% homer on the fly ball. Like, that has to correct itself to some degree. And I don't want to pick on Toronto. Toronto loses their DH. But, you know, if I want to open stuff up, if I want to get myself that Dodger stack, it's a route I am considering. Either of these guys do anything for you, or we're kind of done with pitchers?
No, I mean, I think because there's so many high-end guys today, like the double barrel approach is going to be popular. So to mix things up, playing one of the cheaper guys, I think is totally fine to do. Fried is the best point per dollar one, but it looks like he's going to be like close to 20% owned, like the 5th highest owned guy on the slate, at least is what we have projected right now. And so that just seems like too much for me. If he was going to be lower owned, overlooked because he's facing Toronto, I'd be like, yeah, roll out some Fried. But it's not like he's only made 1 start since, you know, coming off the DL. He's probably only going to be stretched to like 85 or 90 pitches here. So it's not like he has that massive upside. Even though point per dollar wise, he's the best, I'd probably rather lean towards a guy like Ryu or Casey Mize, who are just like way too cheap and way too low owned and are pretty solid values. I think that's the way I'd rather differentiate than a guy like Fried, who's going to be like 4 times the ownership of either one of those guys, at least.
Yeah, Mize, another Uber prospect. They have let him go a little bit more of late. You know, they kind of babied him the start of the season because where's Detroit going? What's the point? Why push him? But 95 pitches last time out, 85 before that, 95, 89. Yeah, I mean, you know, and of course it's a live arm as well too. He's got good stuff. Is that's just an ownership thing? And you believe in the stuff as far as Mize?
It's an ownership and price thing. And it's not like the matchup is like overly difficult. You know, Kansas City's like an average offense. They don't strike out a ton, but they're not a tough offense. They're not a super low K offense. If he's, you know, 5.2K and he projects for 12 points in the bat, that still makes him like a top 5 point per dollar guy. And he's projected at 2% ownership.
All right, just say hello to chat. What up, chat? YouTube, like, subscribe, turn on notifications. We do appreciate that. Let you guys know when the next show is coming around the corner. Ask some questions. If we didn't talk about the pitcher you want us to hear to, you know, talk about, I'm curious who that is, and we'll do our best to entertain it. Or if you want us to expand on a certain player, why we feel about, you know, this guy or that guy, we're happy to do so. Devin, our fabulous multitasking producer, he is going to be pulling those questions. He's going to be joining the show for the last 15 minutes or so. And hey, don't limit him to just pitchers. Talk about some batters, talk about some stacks. You know, be sure to let us know if it's for tournament, if it's for cash, what site you're on, all that good stuff. And Devin's going to compile your questions and fire them off our way. Give me a summary. Give me a summary as far as the arms today.
Yeah, top guys easily Garrett Cole. Play him in cash games on DraftKings. On FanDuel, play either him or Zach Gallen. On DraftKings, play Brandon Woodruff with Cole in cash. In GPPs, mix it up with guys like Zach Wheeler, Danny Duffy, Ryu, Casey Mize. That's where I'm at with pitching.
Cardi, you like to think of yourself as a smart guy, right? You'd say you're pretty sharp. Is that reasonable?
I like to think so.
Are you aware of Big Brain? Have you heard about Big Brain that we've been playing? We played once last week. We're playing it on Friday now. Free Crunch Time presented by Big Brain. Crunch Time, of course, is our premium product. We're going to be giving that way for the foreseeable future, far as I know, on Fridays. And after lock, they play Big Brain. And Big Brain is, do you remember HQ Trivia?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so it's marrying the worlds of HQ Trivia and DFS for very, very specific topics. As an example, like they have like 50-50s and they have tournaments and all that, and you answer 12 questions. And you know, if you go to the bar, you answer you got to answer within a certain amount of time. Like the faster you answer, the more points you get. Remember bars? You remember bars, right? There's still a thing, I think.
Bars, like where you go to drink alcohol? Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So yeah, basically you got to finish. There's 50-50s, there's tournaments. Andy took it down last week because some might say it was a little shady. Duke, he won a Duke basketball contest. Big shock. A former Duke Blue Devil. Andy Means. I'm not sure what the topic is going to be on Friday, but some of the topics they're throwing out there right now. Famous quotes. It's very specific. Rock music, classic Atari games, cleaning products. Cleaning products. Who specializes? Do you have a specialty? Is there something that you know more than the average person and you feel like, oh, I'm going to just lock in this GPP? Is there something you can dominate in, like a random, non-sports related, obviously? What do you have for me?
It's a good question. I feel like I know a little bit of everything. I don't know if there's anything that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm definitely the best for sure at this.
Well, maybe this isn't for you.
Would it be obscure liquors, perhaps?
Oh yeah, I would dominate that for sure.
There it goes. All right, there we go.
Yesterday was the Golden Girls, apparently was one of the topics. I don't know if you're a big fan of a Blanche or if Sophia's
a little before my time, I think.
Was Atari before your time or no?
Yes. A little bit. I did play it when I was very young.
Yeah. Played a little Zaxxon, a little like Pac-Man. There's no bigger scam in the history of the world, by the way, than Miss Pac-Man. It's like, how do we sell this game again? I know. Let's throw a bow on it and like change the banana to like an apple. $1 billion later. Bunch of suckers. Yeah, so Crunch Time, it's free. And also, hey, you don't even need a promo code for this. $50 deposit bonus as well if you guys play on Big Brain. And it's not available in Florida because I want to play. Unfortunately, I cannot play, but hopefully wherever you guys are out there in chat, feel free to have at it. We're going to go around the horn real quickly. Again, Devin's compiling those questions as far as, the chat. What do you guys have on your mind as far as stacks, as far as players you're locking in, players you're fading, the pitchers we talked about as well, too. Feel free to expand on that. Let's go to catchers. Cardi, who excites you, if anybody?
Dean, you just asked which catcher excites me. When is there ever a catcher that excites anybody?
There's a lefty master that's catching tonight in Mitch
Is
Garver.
it James McCann? How's he been doing this year?
The man took the time to do a cameo for you, and now you're crapping on him. Unbelievable.
Yeah, there are actually a number of viable catchers on this slate. I think last time I ran like 10 optimal lineups in the bat, there were like 5 different catchers showing up. Will Smith is definitely the top one overall. If you have the money to get up there, he's expensive, at least on DraftKings. On FanDuel, all the Dodgers are free, so play a bunch of Dodgers on FanDuel. But on DraftKings, Will Smith 5.5, but the Dodgers are the best offense tonight by a good amount. Justin Dunn is really bad. Justin Dunn allows a lot of stolen bases, and the Dodgers are the best offense in baseball. So Dodgers are in a really good spot. I like Will Smith. If you don't have the money for him, Salvador Perez, even though I mentioned Casey Mize, a lot of that is because it's a price ownership play. Like you can play some of the better Royals against him. So 4-6 for Salvi, I think is totally fine. I think you can go down. I think a Blue Jay stack tonight, if Fried is going to be this high owned, I think a Blue Jay stack sounds pretty nice for a little bit of leverage, but Danny Jansen, he's going to have the platoon advantage. He looks pretty solid. Carson Kelly, I think, is a solid enough value. Andrew Knapp for the Phillies, like all the Phillies are way under owned tonight. Like they're one of like the 3 like premier teams. And so Andrew Knapp, even though he's not a great hitter, he's in a really good spot. He's cheap. He's totally fine to play. Dean froze. All right. Let's go to first base. Moving right along. So I mentioned earlier with Knapp, like the Phillies are in a really good spot tonight. The Phillies are facing John Lester. John Lester is quite bad at baseball. I don't know why he's still pitching. He should be retired, but he's just one of these guys that teams just keep signing and hoping that he's, the guy that he used to be, or the guy that they hope they want him to be. And he's just not. He's bad. He's a lefty. He allows a lot of stolen bases. Hoskins isn't going to steal a base, but he's got the platoon advantage. He's going to have power potential here. He's 4.1K on DraftKings. He's 3.2 on FanDuel. It's just silly. Like, it's just a stupid price. So Hoskins is going to be a really good play there. In your Dodgers stacks, Max Muncy is first base only on DraftKings, 5.5K. He's expensive, but I do like him a lot in your Dodgers stacks. Vlad Guerrero Jr. in your J stacks against Fried is expensive, but going to be a good play. In terms of cheaper guys or pivots off of Hoskins, as Asdrubal Cabrera, we don't have a lineup yet for Arizona, I don't think, but he's projected to hit third. He's 3.7K. Pavin Smith is projected to lead off at 3.8K in the same lineup. So both of those guys look good. Josh Bell is always a little bit underpriced, so he's fine. Daniel Vogelbach is always a little bit underpriced. Like, he's fine if you want a homer hunt in a GPP. Yeah, I think that's first base. So while we try to get Dean back, I guess let's move on to.
We'll just power on. I'll hop on here with you, and we'll just go on to second base.
Yeah. So second base. Second base, I feel like, is almost as gross as catcher all year. Like, it's just not a good position. I guess you can pay up, but like, there's no one that you really want to pay up for. Like, Altuve's too expensive against a good pitcher. Merrifield's too expensive for being Whit Merrifield. Eduardo Escobar in this Arizona lineup is going to be fine. Arizona's facing, they just announced it like a couple of minutes before the show, this guy Poteet for the Marlins, who projects as a very, very bad pitcher. He's like 27 years old. He's not a top prospect by any means. And so I think Diamondbacks tonight are going to be among the better, like, cheaper options to try to make some stuff work. So Eduardo Escobar, he's not like super cheap on DraftKings, but on FanDuel, he's 2.7, third base eligible there, not second, but he's going to be a good play. Gene Segura is hitting second for the Phillies tonight, which is really appealing because not only is he going to have the platoon advantage against Lester, but he has the speed to take advantage of Lester's stolen base issues. So I like Segura quite a bit. Going down to cheaper options, Colton Wong against John Gant, I think, is fine. There's a lot of Brewers that are cheap and solid values tonight. At the very low end, Josh Van Meter is 2.6K. Again, we don't have an Arizona lineup yet, but if he's in the lineup, he's a really nice way to save money and just prioritize expensive stuff at other positions because second base kind of sucks.
And it looks like we have Dean back. So before I patch it back to Dean, Cardi, can I get you to turn your camera off and on?
Sure.
Go ahead, Dean.
Dude, I'm so mad at Comcast, man. I don't know what's going on. I have to make a very stern phone call after lock. I apologize. This happened yesterday and it's happening today again. So I don't really know what the issue is, but Cardi, what did I miss? What position did you get to talk about without me?
We talked about catcher first and second. Any thoughts on catcher first or second?
I wonder, are you punting with Lux on DK? Is that something you're considering?
I'm not actually. I mean, as much as I like the Dodgers, he's not like cheap. You know, he's 3.5K. He's probably going to hit eighth. He's fine, I think. But, I'd rather have, Colton Wong, Marwin Gonzalez, Josh Van Meter. I think those guys are all like better.
I would say Muncy's a really good play on FanDuel, but he's hard to get to on DK. I imagine you covered that one. The difference in prices.
I actually forgot
drastic.
to mention on FanDuel. I did say when I was talking about catcher that the Dodgers are stupid cheap on FanDuel. So Muncy especially is way too cheap.
Are we flat out punting with Vogelbach?
I think you can. But really Rhys Hoskins, like, he's just so underpriced. The Phillies are in such a good spot tonight. I imagine they'll be chalk on DraftKings, but Rhys Hoskins for 4.1K with the platoon advantage against John Lester, like, sign me up.
Third base, are we also picking on Lester with Baum? He seems a little bit too cheap here.
The whole Phillies team is too cheap. Bohm is a fantastic play, 3.1K or something like that. He's really good. I think he's the cash guy. I guess you can make a case maybe for Asdrubal Cabrera. You make a case maybe for I mean, Travis Shaw, I mentioned a whole bunch of these Brewers are really cheap, but I really think Bohm is the guy, at least in cash. And then in GPPs, you know, Justin Turner in your Dodgers stacks, Escobar in your Diamondback stacks, or as Drupal, he's fine here too. Yeah.
Roof expected to be open, by the way, in Arizona. I think that's worth noting. And that Marlins, we talked about it. I'm not sure if we talked about, is it Poteet? Cody Poteet? We're expecting to draw the start there. Nieder was also somebody that was potentially going to pitch, and maybe comes out of the bullpen. I don't really know what's going on there. The Marlins didn't announce their starter until, I guess, just right for the show, basically. But Arizona feels like one of those interesting teams that I assume are going to go mostly neglected, and their lineups not out just yet too. And that's kind of sort of some of the thing, because people making lineups right now are just, they're going to click on the guy that they know is in, you know. Obviously some people go back and, you know, make a double check and, oh, well, this guy all of a sudden is batting first on Arizona. He's interesting, but not everybody does that. Anything else that's worth a focus on third base, or shall we talk about shortstop, where I think if you have one big spend today, I think it's Seager, I think.
So real quick, Poteet, the bat hadn't processed it before the show yet because it just happened. The Diamondbacks are now the third team that projects for over 5 runs today. The bat really doesn't like it. It thinks this guy is really, really bad. And like you said, we have the open roof, you know, so this is, I think, a really good spot for the Diamondbacks, not just in terms of like, they're all too cheap, but it's also just like it legitimately just good. They're just good today.
I wish Ketel Marte was playing baseball today, because I would have 100% Ketel Marte, but unfortunately, hopefully he's coming back soon. He's your season long guy, isn't he? Sorry.
I have him everywhere in season long. The Bad X loved him, and he crushed the first like 3 days, and then I don't even think he's like fully like working out yet. Like it's brutal.
It's a bummer for sure. Seager, are we spending up for Seager? I just don't like any other price at shortstop unless something changed since like lineups have come out, but he seems like the clear and obvious one. Like if you're gonna have a big spend, and also it's like, well, the cheapies for other position, as far as I can tell, are just more appealing than the cheapies as far as shortstop, and everybody else is just appropriately priced. It's a little bit cheaper. Like I might as well just grab Seager. I love Seager.
I like Seager quite a bit. I have no problem paying up for Seager. I do think the very low end, I think maybe I see some guys as maybe more appealing than you do. I think Jose Iglesias and Elvis Andrus are both totally fine here. Like Andrus is like, he's not a bad hitter. Like he's not a bad hitter at all. And he's basically free. He's 2.1K in Fenway Park with the platoon advantage against a guy that you can run on a little bit. So I think Andrus is good. And even though this LA lineup is really, really bad without Trout, and, you know, we were making fun of it, like Jose Iglesias is hitting second in Houston. It's a solid enough power park. The roof is closed, but like you said, it's kind of cold in other places. So it's actually like the second best hitting weather of the day here outside of this open roof Arizona game. So I really don't mind Iglesias at 2.8K hitting second in this spot.
Yeah, Iglesias danced his way all the way up to the 2-hole, man. Good Lord. It's he is cheap. I'll give you that. And Elvis is cheap as well too. I was trying to think of like a big spend pivot away from Seager. Maybe Tim Anderson. I guess I'd be okay with that. Chicago is going to be mostly neglected, and I think Hap's kind of garbage. Was it last year where Chicago just absolutely mauled lefties? Wasn't that like a thing last year? I feel like that was a thing last year.
I mean, if you think I have any idea what 1/3 60-game season team level lefty righty splits looked like at all, you are out of your mind. I do not care.
Then I don't know Derek Carty. What a terrible question to ask you. Let's talk about the outfield, where it's like, it's not spectacular for a 10-game slate. There's not a ton of stuff. It's like, wow, there's some amazing options. There's some, sure, but I don't love it as an overall. Like in theory, I should like more stuff than I actually like. What say you?
Yeah, I think there's enough to like, but it's not overwhelming. You know, you're going to have Mookie Betts, who's going to be awesome because we love the Dodgers, and on FanDuel, he's a lot easier to get than on DraftKings. And the Phillies guys, like you got to love the Phillies guys. Bryce Harper is the only one that is not like severely underpriced, but he's still a little underpriced. You know, 5.3 for Harper in this spot is still really good. Harper can still steal a base on occasion. And so you got to like Harper, and you got to like Andrew McCutchen at 4K. So they're kind of like the the high end type guys that I really have a lot of interest in the outfield tonight. And then I think there's plenty of cheaper guys that you can definitely, because you're going to need at least 2 or 3 cheap guys tonight. If you're going double barrel aces, you can't just spend on Will Smith and Seager and Mookie and Harper. Like, you're going to need, 2 or 3 real punts in there somewhere. And I do think outfield punting at least one of those spots makes sense.
Yeah, Soler doesn't feel like he should be a punt, but he is a punt. He's 3.3K on DK. I think he's 2.5 on FanDuel. I like Benintendi as well. I wish he was batting second as opposed to fifth, but I think he's still fine. Reasonable punt price for sure. Verdugo got a good price. You mentioned McCutchen. Did you happen to see that clip of him like talking to himself like as you're the best when he was rounding the bases? I love when they mic the players up, and McCutchen's just awesome. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. Mic everybody up. It's awesome. Oh, you know what I'm talking about or no?
I didn't see that, but I need to look into it because it sounds great. Like, I love McCutchen in general. So that sounds like him.
I think I'm going to be underweight on this Atlanta-Toronto game, and I'm a little bit concerned. How concerned should I be?
I don't think super concerned. It's not like I expect this game to, get out of hand. It's not like the Braves are, a lot of times the Braves are, they're one of the top teams on the slate, but the bat projects them as like the 12th best offense on the slate because it's Ryu, and the Jays are losing the DH and they're facing Fried. So I like them for leverage, but I don't think they're going to be popular. I don't think you're going to be missing out if you don't have them.
The uncomfortable thing is that I played so many Braves this year, and I feel like I played Toronto a lot as well too. And just a lot of that's price dictated, and a lot of that's probably more FanDuel than it is DK. But like, this is one of those days where I'm just like, whatever. And like, another team, I don't know if you mentioned them at all, I know I haven't, is the Yankees. And Giancarlo Stanton and Judge are sitting right there. Yep. I imagine it's going to be a full house, or as full as it can be. Well, it's Florida, but like, that Yankees spring training, it's going to be like a playoff game atmosphere, like for real. Like, it's a bunch of Yankee fans in Tampa. It'll be a fun game to watch, and McHugh and presumably Yarbrough following. And yeah, the ballpark is bigger than what they're used to, but they hit the ball 20 rows out, and now it's still gonna land in that Stingray tank out there in center field. Doesn't matter. And I don't think anybody's playing them. Like, I think Stanton and Judge are just pretty much neglected.
Yeah, they'll be under the radar for sure. I have no problem with a Yankee stack tonight.
I love Ohtani, but overall lineup construction, it's just like, he's got to do it himself, man. He's got to pull a Jobu. I don't know who else. Maybe Jose Iglesias. I got my Iglesias is confused.
So Jose Iglesias's cousin Julio Iglesias is gonna come in. He's gonna help out Ohtani. I think Taylor Ward, though, for 2.2K hitting cleanup for them, I think he's really appealing. I think he's one of the best punts on this slate. Like, just because he's cheap, he's a cleanup hitter. It's a good environment. I'm fine with a guy like that.
Did Madden lose I didn't know what we were talking pre-show. Like, wow, John Jay, that's right, he's still in the league. I didn't know Juan Lagares was still in the league. Where are they getting these guys? I totally forgot he played baseball.
It's Joe Madden. He's just like, oh, no one wants to sign this guy, but he's a great clubhouse guy. He's a gritty gritter. Like, let me sign him and play him and bat him second.
The words Taylor Ward cleanup hitter in the year 2021 is just amazing. That happens. Fire off some questions there in chat. Devin's going to be joining us just a second. Last 10 minutes of the show, give or take. You want to give me some of your favorite stacks? If you feel like so bold as to predict some guys that can hit homers, obviously that's just for funsies. There's no guarantees on that. What do you have as far as your premier stacks tonight?
Yeah, Dodgers, Phillies are great. Dodgers are better priced on DraftKings or better on FanDuel. Phillies are better priced on DraftKings. Do with that what you will. In terms of like lesser owned stuff, I think the Red Sox are kind of on their level, but not as appealingly priced in either spot. So maybe they'll be a little bit lower owned. So I like Red Sox, and I love the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks are a elite high level stack today. And I don't know how people are going to react to this pitcher news, but if they don't react to it efficiently, the Diamondbacks are a fantastic stack tonight, both in terms of value and raw points. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, and then after that, like, you can mix and match anything you want. Like, the next, 5 or 10 teams are like the same. So I like a Jays leverage stack against Max Fried. I think you can make a case for like the Royals, the Astros, the A's, the Brewers, you can make a case for a lot of teams today and be totally fine.
Yeah, the one I was going to throw at you, you just mentioned there, is I think the Brewers are a little interesting. Gant is terrible, and he's been lucky from his homer and the fly ball stuff. He walks too many guys as well. That ballpark is good for homers in Milwaukee. I know the Milwaukee lineup is not great, and Vogelbach, we always talk about him as a punt. He's been terrible this season, but he still has power, like when he gets a hold of it. Wong's competent in a revenge game, sure. Lorenzo Cain every once in a while. Abisail Garcia is another one of those guys. I think he's been hitting the ball hard, but just been unlucky from the StatCast stuff. And they're all cheap. Like you can get double barrel and get yourself some Brewers very, very easily. All right, let's bring in Devin. Devin, what do you have for us? So, am I tilting you once again with my internet? I apologize.
Like I said, Dean, everybody needs somebody like you in their lives to keep them on their toes.
That is not a compliment, and I apologize.
It's all good. That's all good. You're not the first, and you won't be the last.
Hopefully that will be it. But have you compiled some questions, Devin?
I do, actually. We have quite a few, so maybe we'll just go ahead and jump in.
All right. Do you want to go back and forth, Cardi? And we'll go back and forth, and if you feel like you need to add on, or if you disagree, by all means, we can do that. But let's go back and forth. How about that, Devin? Does that work for you?
That sounds good to me. Sounds peachy. Let's start with Dean. GR Sauce asks, the Angels lineup is thin versus Urquidy. There's a lot of people talking about Urquidy. Anybody thought you want to jump in there for that?
Yeah, I just still like everybody else better. And I think, let me pull up the plate IQ, and hopefully we're not. I think it's still a contact-heavy lineup. Correct me if I'm wrong here, or maybe it's not.
It's below average for strikeouts.
Yeah, it's actually, there are typically they're pretty contact-heavy, but yeah, go ahead and take over this one, Accardi, because I think it's actually a reasonable point. There are some strikeouts there, but Urquidy doesn't strike anybody out, which is also a problem.
Yeah, this is a more strikeout-heavy Angels lineup than usual, but it's still not that much of a strikeout lineup. Like I mentioned earlier, this is the second best hitting weather. It's just he's 8K. You're not getting a discount on him, and he's not as good as Wheeler, Duffy, that whole tier. So I really don't have a lot of interest, especially if people are going to see this lineup and he's going to be popular. I'll be under on him for sure. 19% K since 2019. This season specifically for Urquidy, 17.7%. Come on, man. It's not a very imposing lineup, but he's also not a K savant, so I don't know what to do. I'm probably going to pass.
While we're on this one, Joe asks FanDuel tournaments for small field, Urquidy or Zach Wheeler as a pivot from Gallon.
Wheeler for me, for sure.
Wheeler.
Yeah, not close if I'm picking one of those two, but I'm on Gallon first, but yeah, I'll take Wheeler over Urquidy.
Stan was asking DK Tournament's Arizona stack. I think we touched on that one plenty through Cardi's talking earlier. And actually, I wanted to share a tweet from Kevin Roth. He just said, first pitch temps tonight for some games tonight. Atlanta's 53, White Sox 54, Boston 60, Washington 64, and Arizona is at 92 degrees. So, good hitting.
One of those is not I can't quite put one of those feels like it's not like the other.
It's not like the other.
And to keep with the theme, I've always said this, Devin, the Diamondbacks hate their fans. They want to bake them. I don't know why they want to let them sit in 90. Give me some AC. Go ahead.
They do keep the AC on even when the roof is open. And when it's dark, it's, it's not humid. So I kind of get it, but.
All right. Tony wants to know, we'll go to Dean for this one. What about Gant and Dunn tonight?
Zero interest in both.
I think we got the verbal reaction from Dean and the visual reaction from Cardi, so that was perfect.
Cardi, you're not going to crosstalk and say you disagree with that one?
No, I'm not.
That face said it all, I think. Ryan wants to know, DK, are we forcing in bets or are we going to settle for Judge? Cardi?
I'd prefer bets. If you're, I don't see a way to get to Judge really on DK. I'd much rather have Harper. If you can get bets, great, but Judge is not a priority.
And Dustin was asking about somebody's saying Gallon out. Oh, look at that. Gallon scratched Wednesday. Whew.
Oh, no. Revenge. Darn. He was psyching himself up in the locker room probably and getting too excited.
Slipped on some Gatorade.
I prefer Wheeler to Gallon now. I'm going to rescind my previous answer.
I don't know who's going to be pitching for them, but keep an eye on it because the Marlins might become really appealing and sneaky now.
There you go.
What do you play on the Marlins? Duvall hits the ball hard when he hits it.
They have enough guys where you can do a Marlins mini stack or something when they're all super cheap, especially, which I assume they are, being projected against Gallon.
What a bummer. I like that.
Well, goodness. Right before we close out, too, but we got a couple of minutes left, so we'll still touch on some QQs. Dustin was asking Taylor Ward betting cleanup. I think we touched on that plenty as well.
We laughed at it, but you can play it too. Like that's sort of where that's my official stand. Like you can play it, but
The bat really likes it for what it's worth.
Yeah. Eric was asking about Josh Rojas. Dean?
I don't think I have an official. Okay, so he's also in that Angels lineup, batting fifth. By the way, you got to assume Trout at some point, if this game is close, is going to steal somebody as a bat later on. I don't know who. If the game's out of hand, who cares? Give him a full day off. He's not actually hurt, right? I think he's just they're giving him a day off.
Are you
My
talking?
understanding?
You're talking about who?
Mike Trout.
Oh,
I think it's just a routine day off. Yeah.
you know I said Josh Rojas, right?
Yeah, no, I was just thinking like who would Trout come in the game for later on
Okay.
and pinch hit for in my head. That's where my brain goes. But
That was quick.
that's probably like Taylor Ward or something like that. But yeah, Rojas is fine. You know, if he makes stuff work, I'm not seeking it out. But if it's my last man in, I'm not going to blow a lineup up. I'll play Rojas. Sure, why not? Cardi?
He's fine, I guess.
I think, Cardi, you were on the Diamondbacks in general, so maybe in a stack.
Yeah, in a stack. You know, I'm not going out of my way to one off him, but in a stack, totally fine.
All right. Somebody showed up late for SP, and now with
Hold on, I just have to. There's a Jose Rojas for the Angels, and there's a Josh Rojas for Arizona, and I got those confused.
I was wondering how that happened. I was like, you were very quickly off of the Diamondbacks and onto the Angels.
Yeah, I'm thinking I got my Iglesias is mixed up. I have my Rojas is mixed up today. I don't know what's going on. The pets' heads are falling off. So yeah, continue, Devin. Feel like
I was gonna
not happen.
Yeah, we got a question that I want to get to, but actually this one, before we go to that one, J3 asks, how many ballparks has Cardi been to? I like this question.
Not as many as I'd like. I'd like to get to all of them eventually. I've probably been to maybe 7. City, Yankee, Fenway, Baltimore, 2 Philly stadiums, Arizona, probably 1 or 2 more in there somewhere.
Nice. All right. Well, let's end with this one. We got about 2.
Should I one up them or no?
How many have you been,
More,
Dean?
I'm sure, yeah.
Does nobody want to ask me?
Well, the question was Cardi, Dean.
I understand. We can move on.
No, yeah, you got to tell us how many now. You can't just tease us like
13, I want to say, like San Diego, Washington. Well, yeah,
All right.
Detroit. I was looking at the one, Boston. Best one I've been to, by the way. Nicest view. You ready for it? Contrarian, Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, yeah. Everyone says Pittsburgh is
Oh.
beautiful. I would love to see it.
It's amazing. It looks like a picture, like in the the background. It's awesome.
All right. A couple of people showed up late, and I think with the Gallon news, perhaps maybe we can spend the last minute or so talking about tournaments thoughts for SP. Maybe if on DK, if you're using one lineup.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have your chalkier guys, but I think to get off the chalkier guys, I really like Zach Wheeler. I like Danny Duffy. I like Casey Mize. I like Hyunjin Ryu. I think playing guys like that is going to differentiate you, especially the 2 cheaper ones, Ryu and Mize. Like, it sounds like nobody's going to play them. And just that's going to change the whole complexion of your lineup. So they're good enough value-wise, and they're going to give you a whole bunch of differentiation.
All right. Any other thoughts, guys?
I just think it's worth noting that ownership's going to squeeze even whatever it is right now. It says for Cole, it's going to be higher. Whatever it says right now for Woodruff, it's going to be higher because people are going to be shuffling off Gallon and presumably going to those guys. Maybe a little bit more Duffy, but sticking with the same sort of lineup process because they're kind of sort of basically the same price there in DK. So it just makes the chalk pitchers be even chalkier. We didn't mention Erod. I didn't really want to play him. He's typically somebody that's kind of sort of someone interesting. I just kind of saw his name pop up like, what? I haven't talked about him. But yeah, he's just too much of a roller coaster for me, and you're not really getting a discount. And yeah, that's kind of sort of where I'm at, not efficient enough. But Cardi, you got a final word as far as this slate?
There's not a lot of wrong things to do tonight. There's several good pitchers. After the top offenses, there's a whole bunch of parity. So, don't be afraid to be different tonight.
And I got one more question for you. I just noticed this. Andrew Stevenson's leading off tonight at 2K versus Wheeler. He's not great. He's got a little bit of pop, a little bit of speed, but he's 2K.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I think I'd rather Taylor Ward for like whatever it is, 200 more, 400 more. But you can make the case. There's plenty of 2K guys that you can always just kind of plug in if you need to.
He pinch hit for Bell last night because Bell is looking dreadful. I'm not sure if you've been watching his at bats, but he's in a bit of a funk. Yeah, speaking of Pittsburgh, he used to be a fun guy to watch, but well, hopefully he gets out of it.
Before we get out of here, it looks like there might be some word of a bullpen game for Arizona now. Is that correct? Seth Frankoff pitching for the Diamondbacks?
I don't know. Cardi, you see anything on that as far as Arizona? But that seems like the most logical option. And of course, Dave Potts, Jesus Go will be all over it in crunch time, and he'll focus on what's going on there in Arizona. But that seems like the best guess. It's going to be a bullpen game, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm seeing Seth Frankoff, which can't tell you that I know a whole lot about this guy. I know he pitched, I think in KBO for a couple years. I got to look into it, see what the bat thinks.
He is a person that we can confirm.
He is a person. We do know that.
A professional human throwing balls.
He throws baseballs. All right. We do appreciate you guys watching. Please hit the like button, subscribe, turn on notifications. Thank you for asking questions. If you guys do so, makes the show much more fun, more interactive. Check out Big Brain on Friday. They're going to be playing Afterlock free crunch time on Friday night as well. Worth noting. That said, we got to step aside and get out of here and make way for crunch time tonight. Baseball and basketball going down there. Kevin Roth with weather. Cheese is good. Dave Potts, 2-time millionaire winner, is going to be talking some baseball. And you got Andy Means talking basketball. That said, CEO of the Bat, that was Derek Carty. I was Dean. That was Devin. This was baseball. We're out of here. Power!